at Drawing America. He's been at Ford and NASA and Hot Wheels. He's done vehicle designs of all sizes. So pretty amazing stuff that he can do. So Omar, why don't you take it away? Oops, you're
Well,
there.
yeah, I think I'm off mute now. Well, thanks everyone for coming and joining this draw along with me. Excuse my voice. I've lost my voice the past couple of weeks, but I'll do my best to talk as I'm working and yeah, go ahead and do it. As Cynthia said, I've come by ways of Ford and NASA and Hot Wheels and certain car consulting companies here and there. I made my way around the industry in and out of all scales, right? From Hot Wheels to NASA to everything in between. And today I want to do some biomimicry, which I think is my favorite. Um, Basically taking anything from nature and kind of transforming it into a form that kind of fits the function and aesthetics. So from there, we will share the screen in 1 second. Technical difficulties. What's up?
I could tell a joke.
Okay.
Damn it.
Well, go for a
I'll,
warm up. We're going
I'll
to do the first time.
hold my powder. Okay.
Okay, you guys can see the screen, correct? So I like for some reason I've been surrounded by the color green, and I love turtles. So I think we're gonna go start with something more utilitarian and very cool and funky to look at, which is a turtle, right? So if you really break it down, we usually work from left to right. So looking at a reference, we'll flip it over because with vehicle design, you go from left to right, right? Driver's side to passenger side as a standard. What you can do is you start breaking down the form a little bit, lower the opacity maybe, take your pencil of choice, utensil toy choice. I'm gonna start breaking down the lines. So you have overall this very cool silhouette going, right? So the turtles, right? They have their safety, their form that kind of conveys safety and their space of refuge when they get when they're scared but also it's this very cool graphic that can be translated into a cool form, right? So you have this very strong directional form. And even though turtles kind of look asymmetrical, there still is a little bit of direction. So when you see this area right here, you see a little bit of snap here, right? So you're gonna have a little bit of snap breaking from there and going back, creating this connection. So direction. So going from there, you're gonna see this really cool shape. So actually starting from a vehicular perspective, right? You're gonna put on the ground line. You can set the wheelbase, right? So let's say his feet translate into wheels, right? So typically we're gonna have about 3.5 wheels. And he's gonna have base of a shell. And the top of the shell, right? Will show some kind of direction. And that main character line, which is essentially literally a bloodline that runs around his entire shape, it's going to be going from one end to the other, a little bit of curve. So here you can see his curve kind of drops a little bit, straightens out, comes back up. But with automotive structures, that usually means negative curve. So negative means weak, it can break, it's feeble. But when you have an automotive structure, you can kind of elevate that. So when a line is going up and curving up, it should convey strength, strength, speed, utility, right? So having that little centerpiece right here, kind of elevate it, a little bit of snap right here, and keep that direction going, right? If you break it down in shape here, on the third read, you have these cool graphics here, right? Around it that visually support his like legs because the entrance, the ingress, egress of him being able to pull his legs in and out in times of like being attacked or wanting to just find shelter. So that would translate down here, right? So you'd have this cool shape. It's cool graphics here. And here, you could show a little visual weight.
Omar, just to clarify,
Yes.
you're doing a straight side view, right? You're not doing any kind of perspective or angle on this drawing, right?
Right. Right. So basically what I'm doing now is kind of like trying to break down and analyze the design, right? Before I kind of go into something a little like more in depth. So with this, we'll take this over to the side. Let's move our reference over here. And since he is a little bit of an elliptical shape, more or less, right? You take his little, I guess this would be more of a 7/8 view, right? So where you have mostly the side view of a creature, right? But he's a little, you can see a little bit of his face. You can see, his hind leg back here. So it's a little bit off center, right? So you can see a little bit of shape, a little bit of depth. So here, I take the center line, kick it over a little bit here. Let's set an axis for his legs, right? Which are essentially the wheels. Trick is I rotate the axis in the direction of my arm. You want these two wheels essentially right here. This front right and this rear left to kind of be more or less on the same line, more same plane. So now that snap center line, kick back. Basically, that center line is going to dictate a lot of the shape, right? So if we're drawing through rear wheel somewhere around here, here. It's graphic.
And don't forget, guys, if you come across, if there's any terms or anything like that that you're, not recognizing, because we're coming from various industries here, feel free to put it in the chat, and I'll bring it up with Omar.
So I want to just block in like the general direction. I kind of want to keep the symbol right so you guys can just understand the process and you kind of put your own spin on it, right? I'm doing here, I'm just kind of indicating a little bit of just a little bit of like automotive underpinnings, right? A visual weight. And turtles have his cute little face, right? So maybe we can apply that to the front end. We start putting some hard points. It doesn't have to literally be a head coming out of like, socket or something. It can be just, just the translation of the idea of, right? Fascia. See. 12 feet.
Omar, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are there any specific kind of measurement tools that you're using for like the placement of the headlights? Because I remember when I first started drawing cars, I had a lot of difficulty trying to get those things in the right place in a way that it looked like an actual real vehicle. So are there any guidelines or anything like that where you can place headlights or grills just in terms of like the width of the car or anything like that?
I'd say like when you have, I guess in automotive energy, automotive engineering, transportation, you have guidelines set from a package, right? So like where the line side has to, the light side has the line, sorry, the height of the light and the eyesight has to be right. So in terms of visibility on the road, in terms of packaging it in conjunction with other elements of the vehicle internally, externally, visually too. So it really depends on obviously what kind of vehicle it is, regulations where that vehicle is going to be, and then the relationship between that componentry with other components within the vehicle, and then how it translates visually. If that makes any sense.
So I'm guessing a good way, I mean, maybe this is going to be a really obvious statement, but a good way to kind of jump into this if you're not as familiar with vehicle design and those regulations and things like that is honestly just to take a look at some reference in terms of what type of vehicle you're hoping to create. So if you're looking at maybe an SUV versus a sedan, just familiarizing yourself with some of those terms and differences, and just take a look at their proportions. And there's tons of resources out there too, YouTube and everything else, and Omar's Instagram as well has a lot of things on just how to deal with the proportions of different types of vehicles.
First sketch is not always the best, but like the idea of what you're trying to do is always usually there if you can get a grasp on what you're trying to do visually, right? So I'm gonna try to break this down a little bit. So let's start throwing like lighter lines down. I like to throw a little bit of weight on there just to like kind of frame the vehicle. Um, frame the vehicle kind of just show emphasis on certain points. There's something there. And that's a little ground light here. So I think a big thing with turtles, right, is they have a really cool shell. Right, they have these really cool graphics that are kind of strewn through their shell. So this kind of main graphics here. Like let's say this becomes maybe a window graphic. Excuse me. And throw that down. Uh-oh. Sorry, I think you guys lost the iPad now.
Hey, Omar.
Yeah.
What did you do at NASA?
So excuse me, real quick.
Sorry,
So
I,
NASA.
I should have put it in the chat, but I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, so can you guys see
Shame
the
on you,
screen?
Simon.
No, we can't see your screen. Do you want to try to share again?
um, that's weird. Saying it's sharing. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. I'm just gonna do it one more time.
Did it bonk out?
I think it like kicked out really quick. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay, it's super cool to watch you draw. So,
you, can you see it
yep,
now?
you're
Yep.
back.
Oh yeah, so NASA is pretty cool. So NASA was main gist for me being hired was being able to translate the visuals for a mission, which was Mars sample return, which was essentially a multi-stage mission that would be launched consecutively. Cannot give away the dates, but to land on Mars, abstract samples from Mars, and then send a mini rover to go get those samples, pack the samples, bring them back to the big rover to bring them back to the ascent vehicle, shoot the ascent vehicle up, and then in orbit, we would capture very slow capture the samples, and then slam those back into Utah at an undisclosed force, and then pick up the samples and then sample them in the lab. So this huge multi-stage mission for tiny rocks is essentially what it was. Excuse me. And taking those samples and displaying them for like public use and seeing what we can find there. Like when I was there, we had found methane. We had detected life twice in the solar system. Don't know if I could say that, but we did. And yeah, so the main thing is that we can find water there, we can find life, and then maybe create more life and become interplanetary. So the ability to visualize all that for public and internal external use was really vital.
Oh, that's it, huh?
Okay.
That's amazing.
And then the simplicity of it, the simple idea was let's make a map. So engineers use a lot of bat charts, which kind of poorly visualize missions. So it's much easier to follow through, and you could be a designer, an engineer, a kid, and look at it and understand what's going on.
Thank you.
Use my throat. So yeah,
That's
that
so
was
cool.
probably that was definitely a turning point for understanding what visuals are used for. And just it was fun because you get to connect with like people of all ages and understand like what their goals are in life, and when they see something where it's like, oh wow, I'm going to Mars, like I want to do that too. Like it's interesting to see because those kids might have kids that maybe are born on Mars and they're the first Martians, right? So like it's crazy to think that. But let's see. Yeah. So come back to this would be a cool little like visual for yeah, maybe some visual graphic. I guess at this point we can do a little editing. Considering the wheels are a little off. So take that here.
I have another question.
Yes.
How do you do such perfect ellipse?
That is years of drawing lines and ellipses, actually. If you guys want a little secret lesson on that. Turn this off real quick. Every morning, I'll maybe take a piece of paper and I'll just start drawing. I try to do this, drawings, like lines, all different ways, right? You just wherever your eye goes is where your line's gonna go, right? So you just draw lines. You free up your wrists, right? You just keep drawing them. And the beauty of that is when you just start drawing lines, you can use those lines. You can practice your line weight. You can also practice drawing circles and ellipses. So we just take draw papers of lines and going all which way and just start drawing on top of them. Like nothing has to be perfect, right? So you can just keep drawing. You can maybe rotate and go through the whole hierarchy, right? Because when you look at a cylinder, if it's glass, the top cylinder is always smaller, the bottom cylinder is bigger, right? So you can look way down the hierarchy of ellipses and practice. I mean, when I first started doing this, all my ellipses looked like peanuts. You know, they all kind of looked like this. but it's just like I think it's just second nature when you start going through it.
And just to back up what Omar's saying, I can attest to exactly the same experience. I've had a lot of questions in my art on, drawing ellipses, and this is the answer. It's mileage and it's practice. So sorry, there's no real shortcuts, but if you do it enough, it does get you there.
And when you do this, you can flip it, rotate it. And oh look, maybe there's a second rendition to the Turtlemobile. So like you can also practice like lines and ellipses, and you end up you can create stuff out of it, right? Um,
I notice also you're moving pretty fast. So when you're drawing your lines and your character lines and those arcs and everything, you seem to be really just whipping that line down and not fussing over it.
yeah, I think is like I guess that mentality is good because every sketch you have should be a throwaway sketch. I guess appropriate you can have the ability to go backwards, but you shouldn't fall in love with any line work or any drawing because like I think it's always faster just to redraw something. Um, so keeping that mentality, just keeping things fast and yeah, it's perfect. You just keep going because your next one's always going to be your best one, right? So being able to just mess around with that, like it builds your confidence in drawing, right? Excuse me.
So sorry to bug you again, but we actually have another question. So this
Yeah,
is actually a pretty good question. Is what are you thinking of for the capacity of your vehicle? Is this like a two-person vehicle or is it fitting a family? So what's the size and capacity that you're imagining? Or are you imagining that? Or are you just kind of doing it and then you'll figure that out later?
that's a good point. I guess for oops, I guess for this exercise, right? It's kind of just more visualizing like the form, right? But if you really want to take it in that more technical aspect, um, yeah, it's I guess you can do that. Like let's see this vehicle. So turtles are a little utilitarian. Excuse me. That's turtles are a little utilitarian, but very like more of a friendly image. You know, volume wise, they have a lot of volume going on, right? Um, let's see. Let's get the color going. They have a lot of volume, right? A lot of shape, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of like if it's translating to a vehicle, you have a lot of space in here, right? Oops. That so you fit a lot of people in there. So I guess yeah, it could be kind of like maybe a minivan, some kind of urban transporter, a very social vehicle, right? Versus something of more speed and shape, right? So when I think of speed, I think of other kind of animals. So maybe a roadrunner. Uh, excuse the iStock image. That's our sponsor. So, um, so when you have something like this, right? You see more grace, more speed, more form, even from their facial extremities, right? So that dictates something more of an individualized vehicle, individualized cockpit versus that volume and depth of a turtle, right? Oops. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, I guess it's kind of like from the automotive direction, you get a package from that you dress up that package. And it's already given to you like the parameters and everything. But when you're visualizing a shape, I guess essentially everyone's like perspective on it on some kind of inspiration is always different. Um, but generally, yeah, I think the volume and the speed and the direction of a shape really dictates what kind of vehicle it's going to be. That's a long-winded answer. See. Let's see. Hmm. Well, when I like start rotating things, like the other more, I guess, dynamic, so to speak. And you can do that by adding a little bit of dramaticism. Let's make him a little less utilitarian, like he's chilling on the ground. Stretch those graphics out.
So you're really breaking down into simplified shapes, and you mentioned graphics a lot as well, right?
Yeah, so it's like when you're on the road, right? You're walking down the road, you're driving down the road, and you see a shape that's very like very iconic. That's called down the road graphic, right? So you have that really strong like visual shape. Like when you think of BMW, right? And lately they've been interesting, but they have this very iconic kidney grill that they've always had, right? So you see the big electric BMWs, and they have this very iconic shape. You're like, oh, I know that's BMW because you have just one, two kidneys. Lately, they've been blended together. No on the hood, that logo, right? So no matter where you go, where you walk around a BMW, you're always gonna see that kidney shape in front because that is the icon, right? So, um, I think let's see another vehicle. Actually, let's turn on the side. Another vehicle is close to my heart. Was actually named after what it is. It was called a cube. Um, it had this very pillowy kind of shape like this, right? And the main thing that they had on it was its main pillowy bloodline, and they had a downward facing curve. So I said earlier, kind of softer, weaker kind of shape, but it was very friendly. And they had this very iconic window here. And this window would then wrap around, right? Depending on vehicle's right hand drive or left hand drive, the window would wrap around a different way. You had a very strong graphic right here. So it was one of the modern takes of a production vehicle being able to be asymmetrical, right? Visually, not structurally, which is the cool part. So it was a very strong down the road graphic, and you could see that graphic for miles, which I thought was really cool. Um, yeah, I guess that's a good way. I guess Cynthia, me mentioning that has kind of my attention to. Like that's a good way of like really showing people what a car is through like the distinct shape, right? So you have a typical you have that typical city car, right? You have a little short and taut, very short wheelbase, high cabin, kind of smart car looking thing, which is easily parkable between two other cars. Um, and then you have the longer wheelbase, which can kind of dictate a lot of things, right? So you can have something that's more cab forward, right? It's like, oh, I have the presence of power here pushing me forward. Or let's say, it's still long wheelbase with a little, higher ride height. It's like this, higher ride height. It's like, oh, this is dominance, king of the road seating, right? King of the road, H point, hit point, power instead of power, it's utility, some kind of engine pulling me forward, and the ability to go over anything down here, right? And then you go back to oops, typical, essentially 3 blocks proportion. A little bit along the wheelbase, cabin's a little bit, sorry, longer overhang in the back. It's like typical people mover kind of this NPC vehicle, right? You have cargo, you have a little bit of power, you have room to carry stuff back here. So it's like if like every car, boring or not, has purpose, and it's graphically driven to show its purpose, right? So like this guy, we can go from utilitarian, look to something more low slung.
So another way to say that would be shape language. For those of you that are familiar with kind of an entertainment stint on things, would be simply, style and shape language, that the function and form are intertwined with the actual graphic, the silhouette of the vehicle.
Say this is a weird. Halfway. I do this little shape down here. Typically, that comes from like renderings where down slight was shown. But I think it's more of a design cue when you're like styling a wheel. Um, essentially, let me explain that. So when people were rendering wheels back in the day, right? These pencils and markers. You'd show the tread, and down here you'd start reflecting light from the bottom of the page, right? So down here you have a little bit of a reflective light kind of catching the shape of the tire. It's a very crude breakdown, but that's kind of the idea of why people sketch when you see sketch cars and they have this little feet on the bottom. That's what it's kind of representing, is that whole era of drawing into more of a simplified form. I feel like that's something very small, but people don't explain that.
Yeah, that's great.
Let's start adding some value to this guy. One sec.
Sorry, guys, we have cold season going around over here.
Excuse me. Yeah, clear my throat really quick.
So, Omar, we actually have another question.
Yeah. Shoot.
So the question is there a reason behind the shorthand that we see a lot with vehicle drawing where the bottom of the wheels is kind of cut off and merged with the ground plane?
I think it's more of a visual decision. Um, a way to like kind of provide dramaticism and just a cool way of looking at the vehicle. So it kind of provides more focus on the vehicle than something like a tire, right? Like the overall form versus little details here and there. It's like the message of the vehicle.
Does it have anything to do also with the idea that that the tires have weight? Because I noticed that what a lot of people will do, and I used to do this as well, was in drawing the wheels and tires of a vehicle, we forget that the tires are filled with air and that they actually rest on the ground and it's not just a solid, dinner plate of a perfect circle that sits on the ground, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Because there is, yeah, you're right. There's a little bit of pressure when the tire sits on the ground, right? So the earth is pushing on the tire is pushing on the earth, gravity, right? So yeah, tire is never perfectly round, but I guess yeah, show that little visual um kind of helps with I guess a little bit of realism in an artistic way, if that makes sense.
And feeling the weight of it a little bit more.
Correct.
These are good questions, by the way, guys. Keep them coming.
Easy. Okay. Put a little value in this guy.
Do you always sketch with line first, or do you ever block in with value?
Um, I think it depends on how I like feel that day. Or like I guess the direction of the vehicle I would go, right? If it's something more visual in terms of excuse me. That's excuse me. Rather something more quick. So I draw lines. Um, if it's something more final, I think more color would work. I'm really losing my voice. I'm sorry. Give me 1 sec. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties on my throat today. Um, no, yeah. So line work, I like to do that when it's just a quick idea. But when it comes to like a final piece, more like to sell an idea, then I go into color, start with the color, and just start, you know, putting paint all over it and pushing and pulling the paint. But if you guys want to see that, I can do that too really quickly. Just to give a little quick idea of doing so.
Yeah, just a heads up, in terms of time, it's about 10 to the hour right now, so we've got about 40 more minutes. And also we have another question of, do you still draw on pencil with pencil and paper?
I do. That's the quickest way to do it, and that's the best way to do it. Because all of this really is just a tool, right? Like another reason why I like Procreate so much is because it's so intuitive as if it were paper and pencil. That's why I see me kind of using the whole Prismacolor looking, you know, and brushes and stuff like that. It's just like I think that connection that you have between paper and pencil will never be can never be replicated. But if there's a tool that's pretty close to that, it's definitely Procreate, you know. It's very intuitive, very it translates well from analog to digital. And it's an easy way to show you guys, right? So instead of having a camera set up and um you know perfect lighting and everything, I can just show you guys this as if I was drawing paper and pencil. Graphics again, big graphic guy. You guys know already. Hmm. Quick way to do wheels, right? And just using multiple ellipses and then inverting the colors because it's a quick way to get contrast. quick idea of the wheel, but you can basically take this. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
So another nice thing that's happening here is that Omar's not afraid to actually use, tools like ellipse and things like that, with the lasso tool and things like that. So just finding really quick ways to build the shapes and build the graphics without worrying about the perfection of the sketch like he was talking about earlier. That's one of the things that I think is really special about the way that automotive concept designers work is that they're just working very quickly. They're finding shortcuts in terms of rendering. They just, you'll notice that Omar laid down this sort of quick pass of value just to lightly indicate reflections and the curve of the form and things like that. Just to quickly build out those volumes and not worry about rendering per se. It's just an airbrush and a lasso tool, and that's pretty much it. So it's really just about practice of knowing kind of where to apply those things, but you can learn a lot of that just by studying images of cars and breaking those down into, again, those simple graphic shapes and silhouettes and basic reflection. What's the word? Not knowledge, but function theory. It's cool to see it.
Automotive theory, automotive, yeah, reflection studies, and you really just want to look at form and see what it's doing. Just walk outside, see what it's doing, say hi to it. And, like really see like where form's picking up and catching and picking back up. A lot of car design now, in my opinion, is kind of broken in terms of continuous forms and um you know uh just linearity. But you can actually see like what a car is doing if you just study the main lines and start with the form. Like try to erase the headlights, the graphics, and just black it out and see what it's doing, so to speak.
Silhouette study, very powerful.
Exactly. Let's see if we can indicate just really quickly to just get depth, right? Just when you're really messy, you just go in here, just walk it in really quick.
And if you see people working with traditional media, similar to our earlier question, a lot of people will do this with marker sketches as well. So the techniques that Omar is using digitally are really mirroring the real world.
Yep. This is just basically what I do with my markers and chalk and do it digitally. But the beauty of this is I can take this, be as messy as I want with this interior indication. All right. So
So I don't know if this is a question or a statement, but maybe you can respond to it. I'm thinking about the fact that you've done a dome of glass on this car as opposed to like a solid structure. And I guess I'm just curious about your thought process there. Because if we think about breaking down a turtle, you're fully basing it off of the shell and the exterior shape. And I'm curious about that decision as opposed to maybe thinking about it extremely metaphorically, where it's like this thing is a tank of protection and maybe it shouldn't have any windows, but then you can't have a car with no windows. So, things like that. I'm curious on your thought process there.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Like, I guess up here, like, he could be a tank, right? But I'm thinking of how friendly this guy looks. His little face, very smooth, kind of just chilling in the dirt. It's like he could be an all season, all terrain vehicle, or maybe he's just a chill cruiser, or you're just sitting in and you're enjoying. And this graphic of his shell translates into like a cool panoramic glass, where you can just recline your seat in the middle of the desert and look up at the sky, right? Um, yeah, like maybe it's just there's so many different takes on shapes, right, that you can take, and just convey different ideas. I guess that's the main thing of what we're doing today, right? Just kind of showing what we can get out of one kind of shape. Show a little bit of depth in here as well. We want to make sure
That's the
everyone
beauty
keep.
of art. And
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just saying that's the beauty of art and interpretation that
Cutting out there.
sorry, I don't know if that came through the last time. Uh, just that it's nice to have everybody able to have a different take on it.
Tool here in, I guess we use color dodge in Photoshop. It's kind of like Procreate's color dodge. It's not as good, but it's
Omar, your screen sharing is getting actually a little bit choppy. Do you want to try turning off your camera and just do the screen
oh,
share?
sure.
We'll see if that helps.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. Is this working better? Oops.
Uh,
A little better. Here it's just taking a little graphic I'm finding from the turtle and applying it to the car. Um, Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on like the animal and the image of the animal. Focal point of this can be highlighted with this cars now have LEDs.
sorry. Another question related to functionality of the vehicle. How much time do you spend researching um, your inspiration for the functionality?
Um, I really did like, so my thesis, I did a rover for Mars, obviously from NASA stuff. Um, and I really looked at like what it need. Well, also I have a lot of parameters what need to be in place to kind of show what the vehicle's going to do. So I kind of try to look for vehicles. I spent a while like looking for a vehicle that could articulate, that could dump things, that could pick things up. So sort of like construction vehicles, right? Um, and I spent probably quite a bit of time going through different brands that I've seen, like Caterpillar and all this. I ended up seeing Volvo actually has a huge infrastructure and just movement for construction vehicles. So I was like, that was cool. I was looking at their functions, how they articulate, the entire bed can twist. So like I sometimes I can really find myself going for hours just kind of delving, and I'll start rabbit holing. But like you can just, it's crazy because like you can just find endless history in all these vehicles no matter which route you go down. But I'll spend probably a good solid at least hours searching for things. And I'll even look past Google. I'll look, maybe there's stuff in the library, maybe there's stuff in magazines, maybe that, you go out into the world and see a lot of things. So, like there's a lot of stuff out there that you can really delve into. And some of the good stuff is actually just not online. You just have to either see it in person, or I guess luckily for me, I knew someone that had worked with construction vehicles and been around them, so they gave me a lot of ideas and what to look at. And yeah, it just really depends, I think, on what you're trying to do. Um, Hopefully that answered the question, or didn't hopefully didn't go too far away from it.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Says on grip lines around the edge. This just shows a little depth. Actually, see what I can do in the last 20 minutes we have. Again, apologize for all the coughing and sore throatness. It's been very viral the last couple weeks.
You're playing hurt. That's good, man. Thank you.
Yeah, depth right there.
Looks amazing.
Just like little touches here and there, you can make a image kind of pop, and a good thing to do is always have a visual weight. Something looks like it's floating in the air. Just have fun with it. Like, not all my drawings are perfect. Not all my drawings are going to be like masterpieces, but the fact that like I can have fun with them and like it puts my little spin on it, right? I feel like car design is so serious now, and like now new companies are coming out doing really cool things. Actually, I don't know if you guys have heard of the company Slate that just came out with trucks. Um, a fun thing they did was the advertising campaigns on those were really cool. And they're just it's you should look up Slate Auto. Just really cool design. A new take on small electric trucks. Just have fun with it.
I think it's like any kind of art or drawing that the more fun you're having and the more loose you are, that really does show up in the sketches. Speaking of fun, we have another question. How do you balance drawing for work and drawing for yourself outside of the job?
Oh man. That's a good question. I think it's like you need to like find that separation. Like, sounds very weird, but like kind of like that you gotta find that Zen stage where it's like you can separate yourself from work drawing and then like just drawing for yourself. Like, and do whatever it takes to do that. Like, I'll go on walks, I'll go to a movie, I'll just go eat somewhere, like I don't know, go to a museum, just go do normal life stuff and come back to it. And I think you'll find yourself in a better area to separate yourself from what you're doing at work than what you want to do for yourself. I hope that makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
Get a dog. That's what you recommend.
Get a dog, get a cat, get a ferret,
Exactly.
Get a
something.
bird.
Get a bird. I had a bird as a kid, and my sister took it outside and let it fly away. But
Wow.
yeah, she's like, "Oh, parakeets need air." I'm like, "No, they don't." But you know, that's what happens.
Wow. Sisters.
It's okay. She has 11 years on her. Let's see. You know what? I don't know how much time, but let's do some graphic.
The moral of the story is siblings are the best.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take away.
Here, let's make it a race turtle. I know this is getting far away from a slow car. You know what? People think turtles are slow, but they're actually not that slow. They're pretty fast.
There is also such a thing as turtle racing. It really does exist.
It does. It's hilarious to watch.
Can I tell
Usually
a turtle
on a drunk
story?
video, but I'm sorry.
Can I tell a turtle story?
Oh, please go ahead.
I worked upstate at a regional theater in New York, and one day we were driving and we didn't realize it. We ran over a large turtle,
Oh
and
no.
the car lifted up in the air. And it went, that's how big the turtle was and how fast we were going. And we stopped the car. We went back. Turtle was still walking across the street, to which we went over and grabbed the turtle because we thought, oh, this poor guy's going to get run over. And we walked it over to this lake we thought it was walking to, and we let it into the lake. And we drove away very proud of ourselves until we realized maybe the turtles can't swim, and we just drowned the turtle. So
Whoa.
that's the turtle story. Do you think the
Wow.
turtle could swim?
That's a terrible story, Simon.
I don't know how that went south.
Wait, did the turtle animals escape the most because the owners realized they were escaping? Um, well,
Escaping.
if turtles can swim, we did something noble.
Hope that turtle can swim.
If turtles can't swim, it's sorry. Okay, I'm out.
I appreciate your story. Let's see. Trying to find this save. I don't know. They'll do a diffuser or something like that. So they make it more automotive, right? This is just kind of like a basis to go off of. Like, you could please just keep going, and some details cool, go for it. But always make sure that the detail follows the form. Some people start with detail and then ends up being all detail and becomes too intricate. Um, and just put a little bit of form here and there, a little bit of cool, automotive touch. Any favorite numbers here?
3.
3.
We have a 5.
Anything else? Let's see.
I think that's it.
Cool. All right, 3-5.
William says girlfriend of his had an escaping turtle, so she had the number of her house painted on its back.
That's awesome. She didn't live upstate New York, did she? That story just gets funnier and funnier. Um,
move to another house.
Oh, you know what I'm missing, which is very important because you need to get inside and outside of these vehicles. Are cut lines, shut lines, cut lines, shut lines, we want to call them. And these make or break a vehicle. Let's see if we can make the vehicle, not break it.
Part lines, panels.
Yes, all the lines is in there. Trunk, turtle trunk here. For some here.
So you guys might not realize it, but adding things like part lines so that the single space between the panels of vehicles, things like that, are actually hugely important in an overall concept of the vehicle. Omar, can you talk about how they actually contribute to being able to see the form and the realism?
Yes. So obviously realism for sure in terms of being able to open and close doors and ingress, egress in terms of going inside and outside of vehicle. But they also dictate, design. Like, actually, a good example is show a picture. But if you look at the Range Rover Sport, say about 5 to 10 years ago, there's actually a shut line. I'll just draw it out. So on the hood, so the Range Rover kind of has this. Let's try. I'm drawing it from the right side, not the right side to draw from. How's this? Sure, this. Oops. Okay. Um, but here on the hood, they have this really thick cut here on the right side. And the reason it's thicker here is obviously it looks good. It follows the lines of the car. But the reason it's thicker here is if the car is wading underwater, this acts as a what was it called? The the snorkel, as if you're underwater. So the engine can breathe and not go into hydro lock, right? So the engine won't seize up. So like I think that's a really like cool. It's very subtle. It's a boring looking vehicle to most, but just that idea of having a line there that follows the design is also functional is really cool. So like that and then having like like the lines on the cube I was talking about earlier, and you have cars like it's very dramatic. If you look at an Aston Martin, right? It's very so the Aston Martin is very heavy on dash to axle, which is front axle all the way to the dash, right? And and the cut line signifies that's rear wheel drive because the cut line is farther back. On a regular car, you have like an everyday car, if it's the cut line's closer to the wheel, this means it's front wheel drive because the way that the engine and transmission is packaged compared to something like this, where the engine is very long and emphasizing that forward motion of power. So really having differences like that in terms of function, where the cut line is in relation to the front wheel. Um,
You're talking about that front edge of the door, right? Where you really see the division between the door and the rest of the car.
yes, so like you can have essentially a car, design this car, right? So like let's say this is a Rolls Royce, big, tall, long. Cut line will be here because it's rear wheel drive and powering the engine in the front, which has to be packaged right here. Then if you have a small car like a Honda Civic, you have, let's say it's a front wheel drive car. It's more economical, tiny, you have a closer cut line in the wheel. Because this is emphasizing small engine, small transmission, front wheel drive, more emphasis on the actual cabin and then carrying stuff, right? So more of an economical car. Again, sports car, this. It's like a Mustang. And some of you that likes them. Uh, so you have more of that, the emphasis of power, right? So the cut line's farther back, emphasize the engine, the big V8 that's powering the Mustang, right?
We won't
Uh,
say who likes Mustangs.
I think Cynthia knows very well. Um, but yeah, so like there's a lot of emphasis with cut lines and what they do and how they talk to you in terms of the visuals of the vehicle and stuff like that, right? Which is cool. Like it's a simple way, like, and also, provides people jobs when they're designing a vehicle. Because every little thing you see in a vehicle is designed by someone else, right? Essentially, like headlights, where the cut line is to, visual graphic, interiors, obviously. Um, I like doing when I have these cut lines.
Omar, just a heads up, we've got about 10 minutes left.
Okay. So quick. What's left? Let's make cool, cool lighting. Occasionally quick.
Since we're coming up on the end here, I have a question. What details that you would to
Review.
kind of finish it off and sell it?
What will it take to pitch off and sell the car?
No, just in terms of a finished drawing, even
Mhm.
just taking something, what details would you add to it to to finish it off and sell the drawing essentially, like to just as a finished drawing.
Let's see. A little itty bitty indication, right? So let's say like a little bit of tread. That we have some mirrors. Oops, that's a huge mirror. Pick. So let's do. It's like little things here and there that like people are like they're on cars. Like, you have the shut lines. We have, I guess this would be a camera instead of a mirror in the future, apparently. I don't believe in that. But um, Um, you know what? What should we make this car? And have any brand ideas? Let's call it. Let's call it. Oh, I know.
Is there a pun we can do with turtle in the hair?
Thank you. I like DA. It's nice.
Ninja
We could. Should we do ninja?
or tortoise.
It's, I guess isn't tortoise is the desert tortoise, right? That's right. I've been saying the wrong characters or
I
creatures.
think technically turtles are the ocean-going ones and tortoises are the land-based. But most people
Oops.
don't know, let alone care. So I think you're okay.
Okay. Cool. As long as we keep secret between all of us, we're good. Maybe like a little. Actually, let's see. Maybe more. Let's say here. Basically, all I use is just hard brush, soft brush, like, just to keep it simple. I think it's really just like the little details that sell it, right? Just give it some energy kind of thing.
So badging, branding, just paying attention to what is actually on a car, mirrors, like you said, taillights. I mean, would you put blinkers on this thing or would you keep that as like a futuristic digital
Well,
setup
this
or how would you go?
yeah, this is just kind of like a quick sketch. I mean, you could if you want, if you want blinkers, let's put blinkers. Let's make it, let's just make this.
Omar, I've got another question
Yeah, let's go shoot.
for you. Um, I guess entertainment. So,
We're losing you.
oh,
So,
um, what's your take on?
all right, what's my take on entertainment vehicles? You're saying, or
Yes.
okay, cool. So entertainment versus, I guess for me, I've done the the Mars rover thing, which is more parameter based. I've done the licensed diecast for Hot Wheels for DC and Disney, and it's a funny story. Like with licensed vehicles and entertainment vehicles, like with Disney, when I did the Jafar car, it was very like on point. Like I did it, like we love it. This is Jafar. Um, the politics wasn't really there. I guess it's really hit or miss with politics, but with DC doing a mini Batmobile had so many repercussions because like it was coming out before the movie, and then they based the movie car off that, and then they kind of spun it around a little bit, and they said, oh well, we need to postpone it a year, and but we're like, but on the Mattel side, it's like, oh, we need to release it with a play set, so it was a lot of politics. So I think what really makes a difference is like in terms of like getting it out there, politics, but in terms of like design wise, it's very it's something like this like I could kind of see this being driven on the road, right? Like you could kind of see it going down the road, being in it versus something that has in entertainment. There's a lot of like they don't really package it around a human being first. They kind of create the vehicle for the environment for the story it's being put into, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Cynthia, but like with automotive, it's very like let's package this around a person where their hip is in relation to where their eye line of sight is, where their hands are sitting, where their touch points, versus like this is a vehicle meant for this world. This is a vehicle meant for this. So that was the main thing I saw in terms of difference between designing for entertainment and designing for real world like Subaru or Ford or something like that.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think you're dead on because what I was thinking of with vehicle design for entertainment is it really is like Omar said, based around story. So people will look at how the vehicle fits into the world, be that the literal environment that it will be in or just kind of style wise how it fits in. So you wind up with a lot of vehicles, whether it's spaceships or cars that would actually be very difficult, if not impossible, to produce or market or sell. But they just look so cool. So I guess another part of that question is like, do you ever see movies or shows and you're just cringing over what's been done with the vehicle
Oh yeah.
or just in awe of something that's so cool?
Um, yeah, I that's a funny story because like I've had moments like that. Like, um, I think a good example of let's start with a good example of a movie. Actually, a good example of a movie having a car. So I still have references to the movie. It's old now. It's ancient to some people. I, Robot was the movie that promoted the Audi R8, and they promoted it in such a way where it's like it's already in the future. It's already been developed. It's already like being used, but it's so subtle that it's also part of the environment, but also like a very iconic vehicle for that main Detective Spooner hero, right? Versus you look at some TV made for TV props and vehicles like they had this they brought back I'm an old school guy, right? So they brought back Knight Rider with a newer guy in like 2015 and like they had a 2 hour release movie and it was really cool and it was really well done Mustang. It had really cool visual effects for 2015 or 2009 or 10 or something like that. So that's how dated I am. But then when they made the TV version, they had cut the budget. I actually met the designer. He's like, well, they cut the budget. It sucked. And they just used like really like off the shelf kind of low fidelity graphics, low fidelity, aesthetics. And it just did not look the same. And the TV show actually failed because no one really cared for it after that point. So like I thought that was funny. Like and it kind of shows like how like good design can actually affect how people see something in terms of like day-to-day TV episodes versus a movie. I don't know. Long-winded answer again, but yeah, those are my go-tos.
Oh,
For
that's
more,
great.
yeah.
So we're basically out of time. If you want to, we can wrap up, or if you want to answer another last couple questions, if anybody has them. Otherwise, we'll just say thanks everybody for showing up. Are there any last minute questions you guys want to drop into the chat?
Open the top.
Yeah, this is amazing. Thank you, Omar.
Yeah, you got it.
Incredible to see this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you guys want to do it again, let me know. I'm always down.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, awesome. Good to hear that.
Yeah.
Sorry about all the coughing and the congestion and everything, but
Thanks
always
for
down.
doing it, Sick. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
cool.
right. So Cynthia, you're the host, so you will do the wrap.
All righty. Well, Omar, if you could do us a favor and zoom out so we can see your final sketch there, just how it turned out.
Uh,
And guys, thanks so much everybody for showing up. This is really fun. We're definitely going to want to do another one. Stay tuned with Drawing America. We'll have more of these draw alongs. We've done a few in the past. I think they're just super fun, and we seem to get a lot of really positive feedback from them. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And please, if you're around on Instagram, Omar has a couple of Instagrams that he also has his own company called Own Form. So a little plug for that. We do podcasts on general automotive industry stuff, and I'm of course always drawing cars on my channel as well. So if you guys want to check that stuff out, just head over to Instagram. You know it's Omar is his handle there, and we'll definitely see you again on another one of these. So That's it. That's it, folks. We'll catch you later. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. This was
All
really
right.
fun. It's therapeutic.
Okay. See you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.